Last week we had a Sanford psychologist sharing tips on how to deal with emotions. We talked about toddlers and pre-K aged children, but today we're going to cover those early elementary ages and preteens. So with the holiday season right around the corner, it's a perfect time. So we are joined today by Sanford Health Integrated Health Therapist Megan Week.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in, Megan, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's just say, there's a lot of changes going on with this age category. I mean, it's, we think really about 8, 9, 10, up till 13, something like that. So how can those changes affect, a child's emotions?
Well, I think you're very correct in saying there are so many transitions, and a lot of those transitions, I think, come from awareness of other people around them and trying to understand facial expression, trying to understand meaning behind what they're saying, and also comparisons between themselves and their peers about what they look like, what they should look like, what they should be wearing. And then lastly, trying to regulate what is happening with all of these really big feelings, because these are really foreign sensations to a lot of kids as they get older, experiencing these new things.
And I think like one thing that we had heard about was moods. Hormones are starting to change a little bit, so sometimes it's a moodiness, the moodiness happens and things like that. So we know all of that takes place, so that can definitely affect it, correct? Or
Oh, it
affect a
definitely
child.
can, and it's something new that they have to deal with, and it's just such a hard time.
So then what are some of the ways that we can help them control their emotions?
Well, I think first of all, trying to create an environment where they feel comfortable sharing their emotions, where they feel like sharing things is welcome and that they won't be judged for it. Another thing is really helping them identify what might be a trigger for those feelings, what might be happening there. And then making sure we're validating those feelings, even if they don't make a lot of sense to us, really validating, like, I hear that makes you really upset, or that sounds like that's really frustrating for you. Making sure they feel like we're listening to them and understanding where they're coming from.
And definitely you are as their parent, especially teachers. I think that, probably goes to teachers as well in this category. But just really listening, I love the safe space. Maybe it's a private space. I know I remember talking in the car.
Yes.
With my parents,
The car is a
one
great
or the
idea.
other, when they needed, not that they said, hey, let's go for a drive and talk about this, but that's kind of a good safe place, and doesn't feel,
yeah, and it's something that they can do
threatening
while
or
they're
anything.
distracted with their phone or driving or whatever it is, so they don't have to make eye contact or make it a big deal.
Right. That's a good point. You're not just sitting down at the kitchen table, one-on-one, looking each other in the eye. So I think that's good. So other than that, as parents, I think, of course, we want to be great role models for them. We want to model perfect, behavior. It doesn't always happen, but what can we do to help that situation and to help ourselves to be better for our children? I
think it's really important, and I love that you brought up parents modeling that, because it's important for parents to model what they're feeling and how they're responding appropriately, and modeling appropriate coping skills like taking a walk, taking a shower, going to work out, things like that are effective in managing these feelings. And also parents not being afraid to step up and say, that was a really hard time. I really kind of lost my cool there for a second. Let's reset and talk about what happened so that kids feel comfortable verbalizing what's going on with them.
Admitting
yes.
to them that, hey, I just lost my cool, kind of type thing, that was wrong,
Yep.
But go ahead.
And then we teach kids that these feelings aren't uncontrollable. This is not the worst thing that will ever happen to you. This is manageable. You can step back from this.
That's a good point. So, okay, so like most things in life, good communication seems like, the best asset to have. Of course, I always say that to my family too. I'm like, communicate. So what do you want to share about communication and with people and their emotions?
I think, like I said at the beginning, making sure it's an open communication, it's an honest communication, and something that they're not going to feel blamed for. And also really making sure that we're really talking the talk and also walking the walk with them, and making sure that when we say we want to talk with them and we want to share these things and you're not going to be in trouble if you share this with me, that we mean that. That we mean that this is a safe place.
being very sensitive, I think, to their needs, to their feelings, listening, like you said before. I think that's taking the time to really sit down and be present. I think we're such a busy society today, and so I feel like that you're really talking about all of that. So, okay, anything else? Any big tips that you would have for families in helping their children?
I think the biggest tip that I think of right now is making sure to name it honestly. If you see that your child is struggling with something, if you see that they're having a hard day or a hard week, or they've had a lot of hard days, making sure to name it specifically and not being afraid to face it and discuss it, because it may seem like it's something that is difficult for them to talk about, but they're still going to want to share it. So asking those questions, saying, hey, what's going on here? What can we do to help improve this situation for you? Not being afraid to step up and say things right out in the open.
Yeah. And if somebody needs even more assistance, who should they contact?
I would really encourage people to go to their primary care physician to discuss some options, or looking at different therapy offices in the community. And of course, if you're not sure what's going on, if you're unsure about their safety, or you're unsure about any crises that might be occurring, not being afraid to refer to the emergency department for a referral, just because we want to keep kids safe. We want to show them that we're taking them seriously. We're hearing what's going on with them.
Megan, thank you so much. Great tips, of course, in time for the holidays too. So appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Coming up on today's show, Grand Forks business that's keeping you clean and feeling like you just left the spa.